Hello kids. So you wanna drive? Driving is a very handy skill, alright. But hello guys, that's back, and the question is, so you wanna drive? Driving is a very handy skill, alright. So let's get to it. So you can look up the YouTube and get tons of videos on how to drive fast, how to mod your car, how to be cool, I guess, and also some very handy restoration projects. Yeah, I love those myself as well. But as a dad, my focus is really just to get you home safe by the end of the day in an unscratched car. So I'm planning to make a series of videos about driving. Before we get to driving, actual driving, just look around and see, are there any more alternatives you can take? Driving is very handy, but if you are lucky enough to live around a place where public transportation is plenty and frequent and maybe even reliable, there you have choices. Somewhere in time, some genius marketing person invented the idea that car equals freedom. But is it? If all other options are taken away from you and you are being your own slave of your car, is it freedom, really? I believe freedom is choice. There are available choices around. And when those choices are taken away from you, that's not freedom. I live in the west of Ireland and public transportation is scarce. So yes, I am dependent on my car. And I drive a lot. And I have my driving license for more than 30 years now. Have seen some things, done some things, so I would like to share a few ideas about it. First thing I realized lately, and I can see it a lot, is the mentality. A lot of people driving with pedestrian mentality. And this is a huge thing. When you sit into a car, when you start driving, you have to switch. You are not pedestrian anymore. When you are on foot, you manage a few dozens of joules of kinetic energy. Probably you never thought of that. When you are on foot, you just step aside, stop, or start walking again, look at your phone. You're fine. You bump into someone. Oh, excuse me. How are you? We have a nice day, isn't it? That's very nice. But when you are sitting in a car, there is no more step aside. You have vectors now. You have your kinetic energy goes from a few dozens to a few hundreds of thousands of joules. So the scale is totally different. You must realize once you are driving a vehicle, a motor vehicle, you are not a pedestrian anymore. And you have to leave that mindset behind. You know, with great power comes great responsibility. Think of that. Driving a motor vehicle is an actual job. People do it for a living. And they have to recertify periodically. They have to train themselves. And if they do something, if they mess up something very bad, their whole livelihood is on stake. And yet, end users are ourselves. Well, we can just drive whenever we want. Just taking one initial test in the very beginning, no one ever questions us again about how we drive, what we know. It's so much or part of the daily life, no one ever thinks about it. I believe it's my duty as a dad to try to explain what I experienced over the years and try to prepare you just to be a bit better driver than you are now. Okay, if I ask what is the most important thing for a driver, what should you say? Super reflexes? Skill? Would it be knowing the rules? Following the rules? I think the most important thing when you are a driver is being predictable. 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 It's no matter how good driver you are or how bad driver you are. You can be fast, you can be slow, you can be very confident, you can be just lame. But if you are predictable and others know what you are doing, then you can prepare to avoid you, to dodge you, or whatever. You have to indicate to others what are going to do, and you have to do it a very predictable manner. I mean, no sudden jerks in the car, no sudden acceleration or deceleration. Use your indicators all the time. Make yourself visible and make sure you are seeing out of your car. You can see what's going on around you, and don't get distracted. People driving with pedestrian mentality, they just distract themselves all the time while driving. I can see it all the time in the mirror. I can see their eyes. They are always just below the wheel because they are scrolling. Take a look at your vehicle. What would you guess the most important part of it is? The brakes, the engine, the sound system. No, it's the tires. The tires are the single most important part of your car or bike, motor vehicle. That's the only thing which makes contact between your vehicle and the ground. No matter how strong your engine is, if you're not able to put that power down to the tarmac, or no matter how good your brakes are, if you're just skidding along, and I can see this all the time, if you just take a look at here in Ireland, at least in Ireland, a Tesco parking lot, you just see cheap tires everywhere, all these linglongs and furons, and the thing that people are mixing and matching all those shite on their cars. It's very actually not very easy to find other cars with 4 matching tires, but it's very important. You just don't want your rear axle start to overtake your front axle because the tires are giving up. Okay, so probably this is not a very long video now, but I just want to kick off a series here. So to recap, what are the most important things when you start driving? Driving is not walking with engines. You have to change your mindset about it. You have to be very conscious about what you're doing while you're driving. The other most important component of your driving is being predictable. Okay? Just let others know what the heck are you doing. And no matter what shitebox you're driving, just make sure the tires are in good shape. Good tires in good shape. 4 of the same, please. At the end of the day, I just want you home safe. I can't really imagine anything unpleasant activity than going and try to identify your remains in the mortuary at midnight. Okay? So please, stay safe on the roads. That's it for today, and see you in the next one. Bye. Excuse me.